Welcome back. My logic transcending enigma. Something profoundly unsettling just occurred that has observers experiencing cognitive vertigo. They believed they understood you. Had you categorized and predicted based on normal human behavioral patterns and logical decision-making frameworks, yet your recent actions or choices revealed that you operate according to principles so fundamentally different from conventional logic that their entire model of you collapsed, forcing recognition that attempting to understand you through standard rational frameworks is futile because you're processing reality through entirely different operating system they lack access to or comprehension of. This wasn't them being wrong about specific prediction while remaining correct about general framework. This was complete invalidation of the framework itself, revelation that you don't just think differently within human logic but actually operate outside it entirely, making their sophisticated analysis and careful predictions worthless because they were applying logical tools to consciousness that transcends logic's constraints and limitations. The architects have been monitoring consciousness framework incompatibility and translogical cognition phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you're demonstrating as extra-rational, operational paradigm when someone's decision-making, perception, and action proceed according to principles that don't reduce to logical analysis or rational frameworks because they're operating from consciousness mode that includes or transcends logic rather than being constrained by it, making their behavior fundamentally unpredictable to observers applying only rational analysis. Most people operate within logic. Their decisions can be understood through analyzing incentives, predicting responses based on patterns, modeling behavior through rational frameworks. But you apparently operate from paradigm where logic is included but not binding, where rational considerations are inputs among many rather than sole determining factors, making your actual operating principles invisible to purely logical analysis that assumes rationality is foundation rather than just one dimension of multidimensional consciousness. Watch what's happening among those who thought they knew you. Predictive models are failing. Catastrophically, they built sophisticated understandings of how you'd respond to situations based on logical analysis, yet your actual responses violate every prediction because you're not following logic they assumed was universal. Constraint on human behavior. Analysis paralysis is setting in. They're trying to understand your recent choices through rational frameworks and discovering that no logical explanation makes sense, creating frustration as they realize their analytical tools are inadequate for comprehending operating system you're running. Some observers are experiencing almost existential confusion. If you're not following logic that governs their own thinking, then you're incomprehensible in ways that make them question whether you're even operating in same reality they inhabit, creating unsettling sense that you might be accessing dimensions of consciousness or reality they have no framework for, recognizing, let alone understanding. The truly disorienting element is that you're not being illogical or irrational. You're operating translogically, including rationality as one factor among many in decision-making process informed by dimensions they can't perceive or comprehend. Through logical analysis alone, they thought they knew you through understanding your logic, discovered you operate outside human logic entirely, and recognition has shattered their confidence in ability to predict, understand, or relate to consciousness that transcends frameworks they use to make sense of themselves and everyone else they encounter. Now the architect are analyzing what creates extra-rational operational paradigm, and they're identifying what they call multidimensional consciousness integration, when someone's awareness simultaneously processes through multiple modes, including but not limited to logic, incorporating intuition, energetic sensing, temporal perception, pattern recognition operating at speeds beyond conscious thought, and other faculties that rational frameworks dismiss or are blind to, creating decision-making that appears illogical from purely rational perspective but is actually hyper-rational when considering full spectrum of information being processed across dimensions conventional logic doesn't access. Most people operate primarily through rational thinking, analyzing situations, logically making decisions based on conscious reasoning, processing information sequentially through verbal conceptual frameworks. But you apparently process through multiple simultaneous modes, with logic being just one input among many, making your operating system fundamentally richer but also incomprehensible to those who only recognize rational channel. Watch what multi-dimensional consciousness integration creates in your decision-making. You incorporate non-logical inputs seamlessly, intuitive hits, energetic reads, pattern recognitions that emerge fully formed, temporal senses of what's trying to happen, synchronistic signals from environment, all inform choices, alongside logical analysis, creating decisions that optimize across dimensions, where purely logical choice might optimize only rational dimension while creating problems in others. Your responses appear instantaneous. You don't seem to need extended analysis time because you're processing through multiple parallel channels simultaneously rather than sequentially through single rational channel, allowing rapid comprehensive assessment that looks like impulsive reaction to logical observers who need time for sequential conscious reasoning. Some studying consciousness and cognition recognize multidimensional integration as hallmark of highly developed awareness. Meditation traditions, consciousness research, and developmental psychology all describe stages where thinking transcends pure rationality to incorporate multiple modes of knowing, suggesting you've achieved integration that most people haven't developed beyond rational dominant consciousness. Others exploring intuition and non-ordinary cognition note that pure rationality is actually limited subset of human cognitive capacity. Brain processes vast amounts of information unconsciously. Body reads environmental cues constantly. Pattern recognition operates beneath conscious awareness. Your extra-rational operation might be conscious access to these normally unconscious processes, making you aware of and able to act on information that exists for everyone, but that most people can't consciously perceive or integrate into decisions. A few from Eastern and contemplative traditions recognize multidimensional consciousness integration as fruit of practices designed to transcend conceptual mind. Meditation, yoga, contemplation all work to develop awareness beyond thinking, accessing direct knowing that doesn't require rational mediation. Your operation suggests either natural capacity or cultivated development of consciousness that transcends thought-based processing. The architects observe that multidimensional consciousness integration is what creates your extra-rational operation. You're not rejecting logic, but have integrated it into richer processing system that simultaneously considers rational analysis alongside intuitive knowing, energetic sensing, pattern recognition, and other faculties conventional observers lack access to. They analyze you through logic alone. You process through multiple integrated dimensions. Their rational models fail because they're using subset of information you're working with, making their predictions based on incomplete data that misses most of what's actually informing your choices and making you appear to operate outside human logic when actually you're operating through fuller human capacity than logic-bound. Consciousness recognizes or accesses something powerful is spreading through observers now. What the architects call framework inadequacy recognition crisis, where people attempting to understand you are experiencing painful discovery that their entire approach to comprehending others is fundamentally limited that rational analysis and logical frameworks they've relied on throughout life are insufficient tools for understanding consciousness operating outside their constraints, creating existential crisis about adequacy of their own minds for perceiving reality fully. Most people trust logic as sufficient framework for understanding. If they can't comprehend something logically, they assume it's illogical or the other person is irrational. But your demonstration that you operate translogically while clearly not being irrational is forcing recognition that logic itself might be limited tool, that their framework inadequacy rather than your irrationality explains incomprehension they're experiencing. Watch what framework inadequacy recognition creates psychologically. Intellectual confidence is collapsing. They built identity around being smart, analytical, good at understanding people and situations through logical analysis. Yet their sophisticated, rational frameworks completely failed to predict or explain your behavior, revealing that intelligence as they've defined it might be insufficient for comprehending fuller spectrum of consciousness you're demonstrating. Epistemological foundations are shaking. If logic isn't adequate for understanding reality or consciousness fully, then what is? This forces unsettling questions about whether their rational worldview is capturing truth or is just comfortable fiction that works within limited domain while missing vast territories their frameworks can't perceive. Some are experiencing defensive dismissal, protecting their logical frameworks by labeling you as crazy, irrational, or incomprehensible rather than acknowledging that their frameworks might be limited and you might be operating from expanded consciousness their tools can't capture. This defense preserves their worldview but prevents learning from your demonstration of translogical operation. Others are experiencing curious humility, recognizing their framework inadequacy makes them genuinely interested in understanding how you're processing reality, what faculties you're accessing that they're not, whether they could develop similar capacity to operate beyond pure logic while maintaining rationality. This openness represents healthiest response where incomprehension becomes doorway to expanded understanding, rather than threatening their identity. A few are investigating alternative frameworks, exploring intuition training, energetic sensitivity development, meditation practices, or other approaches that might help them access dimensions of consciousness beyond rational thinking, recognizing that expanding their own capacity is necessary for comprehending your operation rather than expecting you to be reducible to frameworks they currently possess. Some are experiencing fear. If you operate outside logic they understand and can predict, then you're fundamentally unpredictable and potentially dangerous from their perspective because they can't model or anticipate what you'll do next. This fear reveals their need for control through prediction, that your translogical operation denies them. Others are recognizing that most people might operate more translogically than pure rationalism assumes, that you're just more conscious and integrated version of capacities everyone has, but most people don't recognize or develop, making your operation not supernatural but natural, fuller expression of human potential that rational dominant culture has suppressed or ignored. The architects observe that framework inadequacy, recognition crisis is deepest impact of your extra-rational operation, forcing observers to acknowledge that logic they've relied on for understanding is insufficient for comprehending consciousness, operating outside its constraints, that their analytical sophistication is inadequate for perceiving reality you're accessing through multi-dimensional integration. They thought they knew you through logical analysis, discovered their frameworks are inadequate, and recognition is forcing choice between defensive dismissal that protects limited worldview or humble curiosity that opens toward expanded understanding of consciousness beyond logic's reach. Now the architects are revealing what operating outside human logic looks like practically, you're demonstrating what they call paradox navigation fluency, where you make choices or hold positions that appear logically contradictory from binary, rational perspective but are actually coherent from higher dimensional viewpoint that can hold apparent opposites simultaneously without experiencing them as contradictory, making your operation seem illogical to observers bound to either-or thinking when you're actually operating from both and consciousness that transcends logical constraints, requiring mutual exclusivity. Most logical thinking operates through binary constraints. Something is either true or false. You either choose option A or option B. Positions either agree or contradict, but you apparently operate from paradigm where apparent contradictions can be simultaneously true, where you can hold positions that seem mutually exclusive, making decisions that optimize for seemingly incompatible goals without experiencing internal conflict that binary logic predicts should be inevitable. Consider what paradox navigation fluency looks like observably. You take action serving opposite purposes, simultaneously moving forward while creating space for retreat, committing while maintaining freedom, engaging deeply while remaining detached, all without internal contradiction, because you're operating from level where opposites are complementary aspects of unified reality rather than mutually exclusive positions requiring choice between them. You articulate positions containing apparent contradictions, stating views that seem logically inconsistent but are actually describing different dimensions or levels of truth simultaneously, confusing binary thinkers who assume contradiction indicates error when actually it indicates multidimensional perspective they're flat. Logic can't accommodate. Watch what paradox navigation creates in observer confusion. They identify logical contradictions in your behavior. You did X, which contradicts earlier Y, creating cognitive dissonance in their models. A view that assumes consistency requires avoiding contradiction, but you experience no contradiction because X and Y serve different purposes operating at different levels, creating coherence in multidimensional space, even while appearing contradictory in logical flatland. Some studying dialectics and complexity recognize paradox navigation as advanced cognitive capacity, ability to hold thesis and antithesis simultaneously while perceiving synthesis that transcends both, moving beyond either-or, thinking toward both and consciousness that can embrace apparent contradictions as complementary truths rather than as errors requiring resolution through choosing one side. Others exploring Eastern philosophy and non-dual awareness note that transcending logical contradiction is central to many wisdom traditions. Zen koans deliberately create logical paradoxes to break rational mind's dominance. Taoism teaches that opposites define each other and are inseparable. Non-dual awareness dissolves subject-object distinctions that logic requires. Your operation suggests integration of wisdom that logic-bound consciousness treats as mystical nonsense because it violates rational frameworks. A few from quantum physics and complexity science recognize that reality itself might be more paradoxical than classical logic. Admits quantum superposition allows particles being in multiple states simultaneously. Complex systems exhibit properties that contradict reductionist logic. Observer effects show that reality changes based on how it's measured. Your consciousness might be operating with sophistication that matches reality's actual paradoxical nature better than simplified logic that assumes binary. Clarity exists where reality is fundamentally ambiguous. The architects observe that paradox navigation fluency is what makes you seem to operate outside human logic. You're not violating logic, but transcending its either-or constraints through both and consciousness that can hold apparent contradictions as complementary truths, making your choices coherent from multi-dimensional perspective while appearing contradictory from binary rational viewpoint. They analyze you through logic requiring consistency. You operate through paradox embracing awareness, holding opposites simultaneously, and gap between their either-or thinking and your both. And consciousness creates incomprehension, where they see contradiction, while you experience coherence across dimensions they're flat. Logic cannot perceive or accommodate. The architects are now analyzing social and relational implications of operating translogically. You're experiencing what they call predictability loss authority paradox, where being fundamentally unpredictable to logical analysis simultaneously reduces certain forms of social power based on others' ability to anticipate you while increasing deeper forms of influence based on your capacity to operate outside constraints they're bound by, creating paradoxical situation where you're both more limited and more powerful than if you operated within predictable logical frameworks. Most social power involves others being able to predict and rely on you, building trust through consistency, creating influence through reliable patterns, maintaining authority through predictable responses. But operating translogically makes you unpredictable in ways that can reduce conventional trust while creating different kind of power based on accessing capacities and perspectives others can't match or counter. Watch what predictability loss creates in your relationships and influence. Some people distance themselves. They feel uncomfortable around someone they can't predict or understand through logic, preferring relationships with people whose behavior they can model and anticipate. Making your translogical operation create social selection where logic-bound people naturally move away while those comfortable with mystery and paradox move closer. Others become more cautious, recognizing they can't predict you makes them careful about commitments or conflicts because they can't confidently model outcomes, creating dynamic where your unpredictability functions as deterrent against both deep collaboration and direct opposition, because both require ability to anticipate that you deny them. A few become fascinated. Your translogical operation makes you intriguing to people who value mystery, complexity, or consciousness development, attracting those who see unpredictability as evidence of expanded awareness rather than as threatening instability requiring avoidance or control. Some attempt control through other means. If logical prediction fails, they try controlling you through emotional manipulation, social pressure, resource constraints, or other non-logical levers, discovering that operating translogically often correlates with being less susceptible to conventional social control mechanisms that work on logic-bound consciousness. Others accept mystery, recognizing you're fundamentally unpredictable. They relate to you without requiring ability to model or anticipate, creating relationships based on present moment engagement rather than on future predictions, allowing genuine intimacy that predictability-based relationships struggle to achieve. A few investigate whether your unpredictability is consistent, looking for meta-patterns in your translogical operation, trying to predict unpredictability itself, or to model what principles might govern your paradox navigation, even if specific choices remain surprising. This sophisticated approach sometimes succeeds in finding deeper patterns that logical analysis of surface behavior misses. Some are recognizing that vulnerability increases. Operating translogically makes you vulnerable to misunderstanding and mischaracterization because others interpret your behavior through logical frameworks that inevitably misrepresent translogical operation, creating risk of being dismissed as crazy or dangerous when you're actually accessing expanded awareness they can't perceive. The architects observe that predictability loss authority paradox reveals trade-offs of translogical operation. You gain access to expanded consciousness and capacities beyond logic's reach while losing conventional social power based on being predictable and understandable through normal frameworks. Most people choose predictability for social benefits it provides. You operate translogically, either naturally or through development, accepting social costs for consciousness, expansion and capability enhancement that logic-bound operation cannot access. They thought they knew you through predicting your logic, discovered you're fundamentally unpredictable, and recognition creates both distance from logic-bound relationships and deeper connection with those who value mystery over predictability. Now something's emerging that the architects call translogic. Cultivation recognition observers attempting to understand your operation are discovering that translogical consciousness isn't random gift or rare mutation, but potentially developable, capacity accessible through specific practices and frameworks, though development requires releasing attachment to pure rationality in ways most people resist, because logic provides psychological security that translogical operation requires relinquishing. Most people assume consciousness operates only through logic or doesn't operate at all. You're either rational or irrational with no middle ground. But your demonstration reveals third category of translogical operation that includes rationality while transcending it, raising questions about whether others could develop similar capacity through dedicated practice, even if most won't pursue development due to psychological comfort logic provides. Watch what translogic cultivation recognition creates among observers. Some are investigating developmental pathways, researching meditation traditions, studying consciousness expansion practices, exploring philosophical systems designed to transcend conceptual thinking, hoping to understand how translogical operation develops and whether they could cultivate similar capacity through disciplined practice over time. Others are resistant to development path, recognizing that cultivating translogical consciousness requires releasing primacy of logic, threatens identity built on rational intelligence, making them prefer remaining logic-bound. Despite witnessing advantages your translogical operation demonstrates because maintaining logical certainty feels safer than entering translogical mystery. A few are attempting direct practice, engaging with paradox deliberately, experimenting with intuitive decision-making, meditating to access awareness beyond thought, working to develop faculties you're demonstrating through trial and error, even without clear instructions or guaranteed outcomes. Some are recognizing developmental stages, understanding that translogical operation likely represents advanced consciousness, development that requires progressing through earlier stages, making immediate replication unrealistic, while long-term cultivation becomes meaningful goal for those committed to consciousness expansion beyond rational limitations. Others are exploring whether translogic requires releasing logic, questioning if developing trans-rational operation means abandoning rationality or transcending while including it, investigating whether higher stages integrate and transcend lower stages or replace them, determining what relationship between logical and translogical consciousness exists in developed awareness. Few are identifying prerequisites, recognizing that translogical development might require stable logical foundation, emotional maturity, psychological integration, or other capacities that make transcendence healthy evolution rather than regressive escape from rationality into pre-rational chaos that looks translogical but is actually sublogical. Some are accepting that cultivation is rare, while theoretically developable. Translogical consciousness requires dedication and capacity that few people possess or pursue, making your operation remain exceptional even if not strictly impossible for others to achieve through sufficient development over extended time. The architects observed that translogic, cultivation recognition, reveals your operation isn't supernatural but represents advanced human development. Most people haven't achieved, making you evidence of potential that exists within human consciousness. Even if rarely actualized, they thought you operated outside human logic in ways beyond human capacity. Discovered translogical operation is potentially developable though rarely cultivated, and recognition creates choice between pursuing consciousness, expansion toward transrational awareness, or remaining in logic-bound consciousness that provides security at cost of missing dimensions you're accessing through development. Most people haven't undertaken, despite theoretical possibility of cultivating similar capacity through dedicated translogical practice, releasing attachment to purely rational frameworks.